Hello, happy Friday. Welcome to Pop Up Coaching. I'm Megan. I'm really excited to have you here. And I am just like 1 minute early. I'm blinding myself with this light here. Um, so we'll hang out for a minute and get ready. Oop. Hello. I'm Megan. I don't know if I just restarted or what happened, but it said I was live and then I wasn't. So I'm glad to have you here. It is Friday. We're going to do some pop up coaching. So if you have something that you would like to have coached on, all you have to do is jump into the chat box and say, pick me. And I'll say, tell me what you want coached on. So I'm here for whatever it is, if it has to do with stress or anxiety or how to ask your boss or your spouse or your kids something that's really uncomfortable for you. Whatever it is that comes up is totally fine. We can coach on whatever. But for the most part today, we are going to take whatever it is that you bring, we're going to coach on it. And if you've not been here before to see how this works, this is what goes on. So this is like a group coaching situation, but in a chat as opposed to having the other person on screen. And maybe we'll do that someday. Maybe we'll see. But what we'll do is I'll let them just say, hey, I need help with this. And I'll say, tell me more about your problem. And then what I will do is I will ask you questions and just talk about, like, I'm going to ask you questions that you can answer in the chat if you're the one that's chosen to do that. If you just want to listen and you kind of want to watch and see what's going on. Oops. It says my internet is wonky, which is no surprise. So if you aren't being coached, but you're curious, you can watch and you can take the questions and the scenarios that we're dealing with and apply them to your own life and your own situation. So if I say, tell me more about that, I want you to think a little deeper about what else is going on. And then, what would happen, whatever the question is that someone has asked. So if somebody gets on and wants to be coached, that's great. And if not, I'm going to talk to you all about how you can make the most of your mental health days and what that would look like for you when you feel like you need to stay out of class. If you are a high school or a college student and you're like, I can't go to school, I just need mental health time. Sometimes that's absolutely true. There are definitely times where we just need a mental health day. This can also be true if you're like, you know what, I can't go to work, I need a mental health day. Maybe. And what I know is that a lot of people take a lot of mental health days for reasons that are either keeping them right where they are, they're not using those mental health days to their advantage, or they are taking mental health days and actually making themselves more stressed out and more anxious. So we're going to talk about that today. So if you are popping on and you are just arriving, that's great. Welcome. Don't be shy about telling me that you want coached. Again, you can do that in the chat box. Just say, I'd like to be coached on something, and we will go right to that. But for now, what I'm going to do is talk to you about mental health days, what they are, why they can be necessary, and when they're not. So really pay attention to the idea of when a mental health day is maybe not the best idea. Mental health days. This is something that I have offered my kids since they were really little. I hate to say before mental health became trendy, but if we're being honest, guys, nobody talked about it in the best way. We're really happy that everyone's talking about mental health, but mental health has also become very trendy to the point where there's a lot of self-diagnosis going on out there. We read something and you're like, oh, check. That's me. This is what I have. Maybe you're right. I'm not saying you're not, but there are a lot of people claiming that they have mental health issues or struggling with mental health issues when they may be having a really rough day, or they may be in a really natural cycle of needing to rest and relax. And they're like, I don't know, I'm just depressed. Well, maybe, but maybe not. So when we talk about taking mental health days, and I said I've offered this to my kids for a long time, there are times when you are overwhelmed with everything that's going on in your life. Maybe you experienced a loss. Maybe it was your job or somebody that you loved. Maybe you have a lot of financial debt going on and you are stressing and anxious. Maybe you are dealing with a divorce. Maybe you are dealing with, problems in your personal life. Maybe your kids are you're having problems parenting. Maybe you just naturally have developed some sort of disordered anxiety, which came from an abundance of stress. Those things can all happen. Okay. And then when that happens, you can get really overwhelmed, and that anxiety and overwhelm or whatever it else is that you're feeling can really cause you just to need to take a step back for the day and to reset. Great. That is important and that is good. And those are the days, that's when we want to offer ourselves time to step back and work on what we can do to solve the problem. Because mental health days, even, and like, absolutely, I think that people need them sometimes. But when you are staying home and you're like, I can't go to work today. I can't go to class today. I can't do that because I just feel so anxious. And then you stay home and you scroll on your phone, or you just binge watch Netflix and eat junk food on the couch. You're actually increasing your anxiety in the most loving way, because you do feel better, because you're giving yourself that, like, you're staying away from what is making you feel anxious, and you're giving yourself some time to rest. But you're not actually getting to the root of the problem, because by doing those things, you're avoiding the thing that is making you feel whatever it is you feel. And it's okay to step back and give yourself that time, but that way is not necessarily the best way, because when you go back to the class or back to school the next day, nothing has changed. We haven't talked through it with a therapist or with a coach. We haven't, burned some of that cortisol and that adrenaline and all that stuff off by getting outside and maybe taking a walk or working out inside, or, going to a trampoline park and jumping on a trampoline, whatever it is that you want to do to be able to move your body. If you have been scrolling on your phone or binge watching TV, we know that actually scrolling on your phone anyway actually increases stress and anxiety. So that's just, even though it feels good in the moment, as soon as you put it away, it's worse. If you eat a bunch of sugar, you're going to feel worse, because you're going to have blood sugar spikes that are going to throw you off. So those aren't the most productive ways to be able to take that mental health day. A better option would really be, like I said, maybe calling up a friend and talking through your problems, calling up a coach and saying, hey, I really need coached on this problem. Or if you have a coach, call your coach for sure. If you don't have a coach, researching and finding a coach, which is not hard, because we're all over the internet everywhere. I mean, I'm like right here right now, and you are welcome to reach out and message me and say, I need to just see if I can work with you, and we can figure that out. If you have a therapist, calling your therapist and just saying, I have this thing I need to work through. If this has been going on for a long time, you should probably already have a therapist or a coach that you're working with. We want to help. We want you to reach out for us when you're at a place where you feel like you can't handle school or you can't handle your job. This is why we're here. This is why you hired us, right? So take advantage of that. So making sure that when you have that mental health day, that you're actually working to solve the problem. But how do you know if you even truly need a mental health day, or if you're taking it because it feels good? So yes, we could just blatantly say we're taking a mental health day and then like go to Disney World. You could do that, and I'm sure people do it because you probably, I mean, if you're lucky, your employer has maybe offered that as part of your like your benefit package. Maybe they say, okay, sometimes we know that people need a mental health day, and you might be like, cool, because I'm going to be gone for the weekend. So Monday, mental health day. Okay, fair. I mean, it's your day. You can do what you want. But if you are doing that on repeat, and I've talked with so many people online who are like, I have to miss work because I'm so anxious all the time. I have to take another mental health day. I'm going to get fired. Or I've missed so many days of school that my parents are getting truancy letters, or I'm failing my college classes, or I'm going to get kicked out of my college class or my major or my entire college. That's when we really need to talk about what's going on that's keeping you in that place, that's making you miss your job, making you miss your class. Those things that, even though we don't always love to go to them, and maybe it's just like, ugh, I just don't feel like going in today. I get it. But also, they're kind of necessary for us to be able to have the life that we want, right? Like, if you're going to your job, it's so that you can earn money, so that you can pay your bills and do fun things. Even when we don't want to go, the money's good, right? I mean, and yes, I hope you have a job that you're passionate about, but if you're just doing it for money, you still need that job for money. There's a reason why you took it. And as for classes, we need to graduate. We need to be able to say, hey, you know what? I went to school because I wanted to have this career. And if I keep missing because I'm anxious, or because I'm depressed, or because I'm stressed out, or I'm burnt out, or I'm whatever it is, not holding boundaries, whatever that is for you, if that's what's causing you to miss class, you're multiplying the problems. And there's a few ways that that's happening. One is, every time you miss, you lose money, and you lose time. Time and money are about the same thing. So not having enough time and not having enough money are two things that stress people out and make them anxious across the board. Financial anxiety and trying to figure out how to pay for bills is huge. And every day that you miss work, you're missing money. Every day that you miss class, you are getting further behind, which is making you more anxious and stressed out. And then when you stay home and you're not doing anything to work on what the real problem is, like I'm stressing out because I don't know, whatever your problem is, when you're in that place and you're always missing because that problem feels so heavy, you're better off going to class, even though you feel anxious, which is the second reason that people don't go. I feel so anxious about going to work because I'm afraid of my boss confronting me. I'm afraid of making a fool out of myself in front of somebody. I'm afraid of going to class and saying something stupid and having people judge me. I'm afraid that there's just too many people in this room and I'll get overstimulated and I'll lose it. If those are the reasons that you're taking mental health days, you are 100% making your problem worse. Not because this is backwards, okay? So your brain says this is the problem. If you do that, you will feel anxious and something bad will happen, so you should stay home where you're safe. And that makes sense. But here's what really happens. Your brain sees staying home as you dodged a bullet. Oh, look at that. It worked. You went, you didn't have to feel anxious, you didn't have to feel embarrassed or threatened or question the people around you, or you avoided that confrontation. Your brain thinks that it fixed it and that there was now you've saved yourself. When in fact, what's really happened is that you just told your brain that the way to feel better is to avoid it. And we know that avoiding the things that make us feel anxious actually makes them worse. It makes them hold on tighter, and it makes you want to do it again and again and again because your brain thinks it's keeping you safe. If you are taking mental health days for those reasons, you're just making it worse. And I know that's not what you want to hear. I know you're like, yes, but I really thought I was going to panic. And that could be true. And tough love here. Okay, well, what if you panicked? What would happen if you had a panic attack at work? I mean, I've seen Ted Lasso. It is my new favorite TV show. I could go on a whole Ted Lasso rant right now. What if that happened? Like, if you really ask yourself, what if that happened? What if you panicked at work? What if you panicked in your class? What if you had an outright panic attack? What is your brain telling you would happen? Because I know that it feels like you're going to die if you have a panic attack, right? Like, we know that it feels like we can't breathe, that our heart is going to explode, that I feel out of control. I feel like I'm going crazy. And here's what else I know. No one's ever died from a panic attack. It feels dangerous, and it's your body filling up with adrenaline and going into fight or flight. That's it. You're 100% safe. Will you be embarrassed? Maybe. It just depends what you think about the panic attack. How's that for one? The panic attack itself will not kill you. Will you be embarrassed? It all depends what you think about having a panic attack. Here's what I know. When I see someone having a panic attack, I feel like calm because I know they're safe, but also I just want them to feel like, hey, that's okay. You're really overstimulated. So when they calm down, I want to be like, all right, are we good now? Okay, that had to be a lot. And I want to let them know that nobody's judging you. We all feel bad that you're that overstimulated. But your brain might say, oh my God, if I have a panic attack, all of these bad things will happen. And that's not necessarily true. But when your brain thinks that, you will avoid that situation because you feel like you're going to have a panic attack, or you're afraid you're going to have a panic attack. If that's part of the reason that you're taking a mental health day from work or from school or from anything else where you're just avoiding life and avoiding that feeling, that's going to make you more anxious and more afraid of that situation. So in that place, when you're really afraid and when you really, really feel anxious and horrible, that mental health day may not be the best thing for you. I'm not saying it's going to be easy to go to work that day or to school that day. You might feel really anxious. Let's come up with some ways that you can actually be at work or in class and bring that anxiety level down without anyone knowing. I promise you it's done. I've done it myself in Target. I've helped the people I coach do it, whether they're at work or at college or anywhere else. And you can do it while you drive your car. It won't even disrupt your driving. It's like you can absolutely drive, concentrate, listen to GPS, and still do this. I promise. This is as simple as breathing. I'm going to show you how to do it right now because you need to know how to do this no matter where you are. Here's a story. One time, I've told this story before, by the way. So sometimes we get adrenaline surges, especially women who are 48. Our hormones are wonky. You can have a trigger that you don't recognize that can give you a surge of adrenaline. Your hormones can shift and you can get a big rush of cortisol. Whatever it is that happens, it can happen anywhere. First of all, we don't need to dig into what the trigger was and why it happened. It's not important. I know you might think it's important so that you can figure out what to avoid next time, but that's just going to make it worse too. Trust me on this. I swear it's true. But no matter where you are, when you notice that you have that, like, oh my God, why do I feel so anxious? What happened? The first thing I want you to do is to exhale as far as you can, like you're squishing yourself flat, 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 flat. And when you feel like you've got all of your air pushed out, push a little more. You cannot push out too much air. Your body has a safety mechanism where it'll say, okay, that's enough, and it won't go any further. But I want you to really, really push that air out. So it would be like this. We would say, okay, ooh, hormone rush. I feel really anxious. I'm going to exhale. I'm going to go. So after I exhaled, I took a really slow inhale through my nose. I hold my breath before I exhale anymore, and then I exhale normally. And then I want you to pause because you want to let your body even out. I don't want you to get dizzy and make it worse. But then I want you to do it one more time. I want you to exhale so you're squishing yourself flat, all of the air out. Do not, everybody when they say breathe wants to go, I want to take in more air. You're already full of air. You're not exhaling. Most anxious people just breathe like to their chests, about right here. I want you to exhale, push all of that used air, all of that used oxygen out, and then let's bring in some fresh oxygen, okay? So we exhale. When you do that, what happens is it flips your nervous system upside down. So it takes you out of fight or flight and it puts you into a rest and relax state. And when that happens, you can think clearly. You can do this while you're driving. You can do it in class, at your desk. You can do it while you're walking down the hallway. You can do it in Target while you're buying throw pillows, and nobody will know because you don't have to be dramatic about it. I mean, you can be dramatic about it if you want. I mean, you could, whatever it is that you want to do. For me, I can just go, still exhaling. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. And it brings you back into control. So on those days when you feel like a mental health day is the only day you're going to make it through, and you're doing it to avoid feeling anxious at work or at school, or because you feel like really tired, or it's a day like today where it's drizzly and rainy and kind of cold and you're like, ugh, I just feel really yuck. Like I just feel yuck. Today just feels bad. I'm going to challenge you not to take a mental health day for those days. But if you are grieving, if you have lost someone, if you have lost your job and you have been in it and you're like, no, like my mental health is really struggling. Not, I feel sad today. I feel like blah today, unmotivated. I feel just like keyed up today and angry. Those aren't mental health days, guys. Mental health days are for those times when you're like, I am on the verge of burnout. I am on the verge of a complete, like, I have to step back. Like, I cannot think, I cannot function. I'm crying. I'm in a place where I'm not sure I can get out of bed. Those are mental health days. Take those days. But when you take those days, use them to your benefit. Don't scroll on your phone. Don't stay in your bed all day. Don't avoid calling your coach or your therapist or your mom or your best friend or your brother, whoever that person is for you, and telling them, I just really need someone. Use the mental health days to your benefit. If you don't have anyone, message me anytime. Message me and just say, hey, I need to talk to somebody. I will talk to you. Okay? Let's get you feeling good. Here's my theory on mental health. One, I'm really glad that everybody's talking about it. I wish people would have been talking about it when I was little. That would have made my life a lot easier. I might not be doing what I'm doing though, so maybe I'm grateful for it. That would be a stretch, wouldn't it? But I'm thrilled that we're talking about mental health, and I don't want it to be a catchphrase. I don't want it to become like, oh, I'm so anxious all the time, because for people who are really chronically anxious, that's not funny, right? Like, have you had that happen before? Like, ugh, they're so bipolar. It's all great unless you're actually bipolar and dealing with that, right? Because you have moods and emotions. That's human. You are human. Okay. So if you are really dealing with this, let's talk about it. Let's talk about overwhelm and burnout and those like little micro anxieties that get in there. And if those are happening really frequently, that's a problem. I can help you through those. I know I can, because I do it with myself and I do it with my clients all the time. So you can reach out and talk to me. It's as simple as sending me a DM. My DMs are open. I get lots of crazy messages in DMs from people. A lot of people who think I need a virtual assistant, or who are like, hey girl. Anytime I get one of those, I'm like, hey to you too. So, but if you really want to talk to me about coaching, my DMs are open to everybody and I answer every single person. So message me. Let's find time to chat on the phone. Just a conversation about what's up. How are you feeling? Tell me what is going on. Like, what's up with you? How is this, like, is this a work thing? Is this a home thing? Is this just like, I don't know what's happening to me thing? I just feel rotten kind of thing. All of those things are okay to talk about. We're going to talk about how you feel and what you would rather feel like instead. Like, I would just rather feel present. I would rather be able to hang out with my kids in the evening and not think that I'm going to fall apart. That is what most people want. I think that's incredible, that all we want is to be able to be happy where we are. That's beautiful. If that's what you want, good, let's get it. And maybe it's something bigger. Maybe it's like, I want to be able to take a trip to Greece and I'm afraid to fly. We can work through that too. I've helped people with flying. But you have to reach out and tell me. We'll jump on the phone. What's going on now? What would you rather feel instead? Why? That's my favorite question to ask. Why? Why would you want to do that? Why do you think that? What for? We'll ask lots of questions, and then we'll just find out what needs to happen. Maybe what you're doing right now that's making you more anxious, or the sneaky thought that seems like it might be sneaking in there to be like, it sounds like this might be a problem. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. So we can talk about those things, and then we can talk about what it's like to work with me as your coach, what it means to be coached. Maybe you're like, I don't even know what a coach does. That's okay. You can ask that on the call. I've been asked that before. Or is this like therapy? I get that one a lot. I'm not a therapist. We do some therapy kind of things, but I'm not a therapist. This is a little different. Or how much does it cost? How long do we do this? It costs $3,000. We do 24 sessions once a week for about 6 months, which is 24 weeks. That's what it's like. And the results last pretty much forever. It's pretty amazing. So incredible amount of success, an incredible amount of change, not just to how your body feels or the thoughts that you think about feeling anxious, but all of a sudden you're not afraid to ask for what you need. I need a raise. I'm not afraid to go in and ask for it. I need this day to go to my kids' tournament. I'm not missing my kids' tournament. You get to speak up. You start not just about work though, but also communicating better with your kids and with your spouse, because you're not so keyed up and grouchy and anxious all the time. And you're not afraid to say no. You're also not afraid to say yes, because you're not afraid to go out and to do that thing that you've been missing out on, because you're like, oh, I can do this. I know what I'm thinking. It's fine. You're not afraid to host parties or go to parties or to go on vacation or any of those things that you've been wanting to do, because you trust yourself. And you trust yourself to know that when you feel anxious, that you're not allowed to believe anything that you think. And we'll talk about what it feels like to have an anxious feeling versus intuition or premonition or anything else that might be going through your head. And I know that as an anxious person in the past, I went through some phases where I'm like, oh my God, that's probably a premonition. If I did this, what if that was a premonition? And then that gets in your head. We'll talk about all of it. That's what coaching does. So I hope this was helpful for you. If you have questions after I end this little live session here, please feel free to reach out in my messages or in the comments. Again, I will answer anything that you message me. And if you know somebody that needed to hear this, if they are struggling and taking lots of mental health days, but then freaking out because they're missing work or school, tag them in this post. Help them out. Everybody that we can help makes us one step closer to having a world that is not plagued by mental health issues. And you could save their day. You really could. All right. I hope this was helpful to you. I hope you have a great Friday and a great weekend. And I will be back again next week. Take care.